Alright, welcome back to my Nioh Level 1 playthrough with several restrictions, and in this last episode I'm covering the two final bosses of the main game. So here we have the 8-headed serpent, in my opinion one of the hardest bosses in the game. Fortunately it starts out with just one head, but then two and then the chaos begins. And here I'm using a specific skill to increase my damage output, namely this whirlwind type of attack. Because my individual sword slashes do low damage, but when you get a whole flurry of attacks in, you can drain each head's life bar rather quickly. Unfortunately you don't get much opportunity to attack, because your attention gets divided into dodging attacks from increasingly more heads at the same time. And especially that sideways elemental breath attack can be tough to dodge through even using low stance. The timing is just very precise. Now you can actually sometimes use the angle of the roof to your advantage, because that attack will always go horizontal. However, as soon as the other heads appear, then pretty much no spot on the roof is a complete safe zone. And that makes this fight really tough, because after the first 3 heads are defeated, you are in constant danger of getting shot in the back. And this is actually where Team Ninja dropped the ball in this fight in my opinion. Because they should either have made visual or audio cues to let you know if a projectile is approaching you from behind. An example of a boss fight in another game that does this well is the fight against the twin demons in Dark Souls 3. Before you're about to get hit from off screen with that toxic explosive beam across the ground, there is a visual cue that shows you exactly where the attack is coming from and what area is going to be affected. Well, fortunately you can at least use those large chunks of Amrita as cover, to an extent at least, because you're never completely safe, but it does at least give you some time to take a breath. Now the heads can actually break those chunks, and when they do, they essentially get drunk on Amrita and that head will fall down and get stunned for a while. Which is interesting because the mythology of this 8-headed serpent tells of a hero defeating this beast by literally feeding him alcohol. So that's actually quite a nice touch from Team Ninja. Now the fight will get gradually easier the more heads you cut down, because then you are in fact creating safe zones on the roof. And then you can just focus on each individual head, moving back and forth between attacking the head and moving back to the safe position. And of course you'll get a damage boost when you strike a head down, because it will temporarily infuse your weapon with that particular element. Now for that reason I chose to leave the one with the white horn, one of the earlier heads, for last, because you don't get an infusion from that one. Which is kind of weird. From what I understand, the 3 remaining heads should be poison, light and dark. Now there is poison in the game and there isn't anything resembling light and dark, but I suppose they could have chosen to use paralysis and a pure physical damage boost for light and dark, for example. Now once I got to the final head, I was basically like, fuck it, I'm using living weapon. Although it didn't really help me out that much. Nevertheless, I did manage to endure, and that is what this boss is all about. A test of endurance mixed with a test in multitasking. Alright, final boss of the main game. And what a clusterfuck it is. 100 Eyes can actually start off doing his lasers, and not the eye ones, the tentacle ones, immediately as you enter the room. Meaning that you can get one-shotted the literal second the fight starts. Yeah, talk about fucking bullshit. This is definitely one of the hardest bosses for me and the most frustrating one. Especially because when he teleports, he can immediately be in an attack animation as soon as he appears. So it's just really hard to see his attacks coming sometimes. And then there is of course the whole chaos with the eyeball lasers and him healing because of it. Contrary to the final boss, Living Weapon actually helped me out quite a lot at the end, because it just allowed me to power through the final phase. And that's the end of this boss compilation. This sure was a very tough playthrough, but a very fun one. And I definitely have come a long way since my first playthrough. So leave a like if you like, and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more walkthroughs.